What if everything you've been told about attraction is wrong? What if the real secret to becoming irresistible isn't about what you give, but about what you choose not to share? This isn't about tricks or manipulation. It's about controlling the most powerful resource you have, your mystery. The more you reveal about yourself, the less intriguing you become. What if I told you that some of the most powerful and attractive men keep the most essential parts of themselves hidden, not out of deceit, but as a strategy? This story isn't just theory. It's the transformation of a man named Zayn. He was once like many others, open, vulnerable, and willing to share everything with the woman he loved. In his early 20s, Zayn met Aisha, a woman who captivated him. He thought that by being completely transparent, by exposing his insecurities, his fears, his deepest emotions, he would deepen their connection. He believed that trust would form from vulnerability. But it wasn't long before he realized the harsh truth. The more he opened up, the more distant she became. Instead of respect and admiration, his vulnerability led to her losing attraction. This was a wake-up call that changed everything for him. Zayn's vulnerability, once seen as an asset, had become a weakness in her eyes. He didn't know it yet, but this painful realization was the beginning of his journey to personal growth and transformation. In his early 20s, Zayn was a man who believed that love and trust were built on complete transparency. He met Aisha, a woman he felt deeply connected to, and for him, she became everything. The relationship was filled with excitement, and he wanted to share every piece of himself with her. He believed that by showing her his vulnerabilities, his fears, insecurities, and doubts, he would create a bond that was unbreakable. For Zayn, being vulnerable meant showing that he was human, and he thought this would draw Aisha closer. He didn't see it as a weakness. He saw it as an opportunity to grow together. Zayn revealed things that many men would hesitate to share. His childhood struggles, his fears of not being good enough, his worries about the future. He thought that opening up about his imperfections would make Aisha appreciate his authenticity and deepen their emotional connection. To him, it was the ultimate act of trust. He believed that love could only thrive if both partners felt safe enough to be their true selves without fear of judgment. However, the opposite happened. The more vulnerable Zayn became, the more distant Aisha seemed to grow. At first, he didn't understand. He thought his openness was making their relationship stronger, but Aisha started to lose respect for him. His constant revealing of his fears and insecurities made him appear weak in her eyes. What he had thought was emotional honesty, she saw as emotional dependence. He began to feel that instead of bonding them, his openness was pushing them further apart. Zayn's vulnerability, which he thought would make him more lovable, turned out to be his downfall. Aisha no longer saw him as a strong, capable man, but as someone who needed constant emotional reassurance. She began to withdraw, and with each passing day, her respect for him faded. Zayn didn't realize it at the time, but his overexposure of his weaknesses was damaging the very foundation of attraction and respect that every relationship needs. Eventually, Aisha pulled away, and the relationship ended. It was a devastating blow to Zayn, and he was left wondering where things had gone wrong. This painful experience marked a turning point for Zayn. He couldn't understand how his vulnerability, which he had been told was essential for connection, had led to his downfall. He had thought that by sharing everything, he would be seen as trustworthy and authentic. But instead, he had shown too much, too soon, and the result was that Aisha lost respect for him. In his mind, this was the beginning of a crucial lesson, a lesson he would carry with him for the rest of his life. Heartbroken and confused, Zayn withdrew from the world for 2 years. The failure of his relationship with Aisha left him questioning everything. His heartache was profound, but it was also a catalyst for change. He knew he had to understand why things went wrong and how to avoid making the same mistakes in the future. Zayn wasn't one to wallow in despair for too long. He used the pain as motivation, deciding to turn inward and focus on personal growth. He disappeared from his social circle, stopped pursuing new relationships, and dedicated himself to studying human behavior, psychology, and philosophy. During this period of solitude, Zayn explored the teachings of ancient philosophers, particularly Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus. He immersed himself in understanding the human psyche and the principles of emotional self-control. One of the first lessons he learned was the power of silence, the strength that comes from knowing when to speak and when to remain silent. He also discovered the value of emotional moderation and the importance of not giving everything away. Zayn began to understand that true strength wasn't about showing every vulnerability. Rather, it was about keeping some things for himself and controlling how much he revealed to others. Through his studies, Zayn realized that his former approach, exposing his fears and weaknesses in an attempt to build intimacy, had been flawed. He had believed that showing vulnerability would draw people closer, but in reality, it had made him appear weak. He understood that people, especially women, are attracted to strength, and that strength often lies in the ability to control one's emotions and maintain an air of mystery. Zayn's self-imposed exile became his path to enlightenment. He studied the Stoics deeply, learning the importance of emotional resilience and detachment. The core of his transformation was the realization that a man should not need to constantly express his emotions to gain respect or affection. Instead, strength comes from knowing how to master one's emotions, preserve an air of mystery, and choose silence when necessary. One of the most powerful lessons Zayn learned was that what he kept to himself was just as important, if not more important, than what he shared. Silence wasn't a sign of weakness or insecurity. It was a strategic tool. Zayn understood that sharing every detail of his life with others, especially women, would only undermine his power. The more a man reveals, the less he remains intriguing. The more he controls his emotional responses and personal details, the more powerful and attractive he becomes. By the end of these 2 years, Zayn had transformed. His pain had been channeled into self-discipline, his heartbreak had turned into wisdom, and he had learned the most important lesson of all, to keep certain things hidden in order to maintain his power. He realized that the key to attraction wasn't in showing all your cards, it was in keeping some of them to yourself. The first secret that Zayn learned was the importance of not exposing his greatest weaknesses, especially at the wrong time. Vulnerability can be powerful, but it must be shared selectively. When Zayn looked back on his relationship with Aisha, he realized that by constantly opening up about his fears and insecurities, he had inadvertently placed his greatest weaknesses on display. This made him appear emotionally fragile and dependent, rather than strong and self-sufficient. Not all fears need to be shared. Vulnerability, when revealed at the wrong moment, can create doubt and insecurity. Zayn learned that true strength comes from having the ability to keep some parts of yourself hidden, even from the people you care about the most. When you share too much too soon, it can make you seem weak and predictable. Women, like everyone else, are drawn to strength, and emotional strength is often shown by how much you don't reveal. Zayn's second secret involved his finances. Whether a man is rich or poor, his financial situation should remain private. While it's natural to want to impress someone with your success, Zayn learned that when a woman knows everything about your wealth, it can create an unhealthy dynamic. A woman may begin to see you as a provider rather than an equal partner. Zayn realized that a man should never let his financial status define who he is in a relationship. By keeping his financial situation to himself, Zayn ensured that Aisha loved him for who he was, not for his material possessions. If a man is open about his wealth, women might view him differently, often focusing more on what he can offer financially rather than on his character or emotional strength. Zayn's transformation involved understanding that true connection comes from shared values and emotional compatibility, not from wealth. The third secret Zayn learned was the importance of maintaining mystery. A man should never reveal every step he plans to take. Zayn realized that the more predictable you are, the less intriguing you become. When you tell a woman everything about your next move, you lose the element of surprise. This takes away the intrigue that keeps her interested in you. Zayn understood that by keeping his plans to himself, he maintained an air of mystery that made him more attractive. The unknown creates excitement and curiosity. Women are naturally drawn to men who have a sense of direction but aren't completely transparent about every move they make. The mystery keeps them guessing, and that intrigue fuels attraction. The fourth secret Zayn discovered was to never be emotionally dependent on a woman. While it's important to love and care for your partner, Zayn realized that a man must never need a woman for his emotional well-being. Emotional independence is key to maintaining strength and respect in a relationship. By staying emotionally self-sufficient, Zayn became more attractive. He loved Aisha, but he didn't need her to feel complete. His sense of self didn't depend on her approval or affection. This emotional independence made him more powerful because it demonstrated that he was whole on his own. It's this balance between love and independence that women find deeply attractive. Finally, Zayn learned that his past didn't need to be fully exposed. While sharing parts of your history can help build trust, revealing every mistake or regret from the past can make a person seem burdensome. Zayn realized that he didn't need to confess every flaw or failure. Only the parts of his past that strengthened the connection needed to be shared. A man should be selective about what he shares from his past. Revealing too much can create unnecessary weight in a relationship. Instead, Zayn learned to share only what brought him closer to his partner, keeping certain things to himself to maintain an air of mystery and emotional strength. By applying the 5 secrets he had learned, Zayn's life was radically transformed. His approach to relationships, self-control, and emotional independence began to shape him into a man who exuded power, mystery, and confidence. He no longer shared everything about himself with others. Instead, he controlled what he revealed and when. His ability to remain composed and enigmatic made him more desirable, not just to Aisha, but to women in general. Zayn's mystery, emotional strength, and self-sufficiency created a magnetic pull that attracted women who appreciated his sense of discipline and control. He was no longer the vulnerable open book that he had once been. Instead, he had become a man who commanded respect without seeking validation from others. His power didn't come from being perfect, but from being a man who understood the importance of what he kept hidden. As he embraced these principles, Zayn noticed that women were drawn to him more than ever. They were intrigued by his calm demeanor, his ability to stay composed, and his quiet confidence. His emotional independence made him stand out in a world where many men were eager to show their vulnerability at every turn. Women sensed that Zayn was not someone who would give them all his energy and attention. He was a man who had a strong sense of self and only gave what he chose to. The final lesson Zayn learned was that silence was not a weakness, it was a powerful tool. By keeping certain things to himself, Zayn maintained his power and intrigue. He no longer sought to impress or please anyone by revealing everything. Instead, he became more selective with his words and actions, choosing only to reveal what was necessary to strengthen the connection. Zayn's transformation wasn't just about changing how he interacted with women. It was about changing how he saw himself. He became the man who was in control of his own narrative, who decided what to share and when. This control gave him a sense of freedom and power that he had never known before. His silence was not emptiness, it was filled with strength and purpose. Zayn's journey serves as a powerful lesson in personal growth and attraction. Through the application of the 5 secrets, he transformed from a man who sought validation through emotional openness to someone who understood that true power lies in what we choose to keep hidden. The more a man masters silence, emotional self-control, and the art of mystery, the more attractive and powerful he becomes. By keeping his greatest weaknesses, financial situation, future plans, emotional dependence, and past mistakes hidden, Zayn not only regained his power, but became someone who women found irresistibly intriguing. His story teaches us that being open and vulnerable has its time and place, but that vulnerability must be shared with caution. The key to true attraction is the mystery that surrounds a man, the things he doesn't reveal. Now, I want to leave you with this final thought. If you want to start mastering the art of mystery and attraction, begin by practicing silence and emotional control in your own life. Start keeping certain things for yourself and watch how people, especially women, begin to respond differently to you. True power lies in what you choose to share and what you choose to keep to yourself. If you're ready to transform your life and become the best version of yourself, subscribe to the channel for more tips on personal growth, attraction, and the power of silence. Leave a comment below and share your thoughts. What do you think is the most important secret for maintaining power in a relationship?